Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we are finally going to be taking a look at one of the most popular games out there, one of the most popular cooperative games, Spirit Island. Spirit Island is a lot of people's favorite game. And my history with Spirit Island, I hadn't reviewed it before because I'd only played it a couple times and I didn't feel like I gave it a fair shot where I could actually review the game. And when I did my top 25 solo games of all time, several comments were like, where's Spirit Island? Why isn't Spirit Island on this list? So I figured I finally would get this game again, play it a lot more, and finally give my own personal review of Spirit Island. Now, a very, very quick overview of what this game is you are playing as a spirit on an island, and there's some colonists coming into the island. They're trying to colonize the island, and they're spreading around, building stuff. And as the island spirits and inhabitants, you do not like that. So you are going to be fighting back against them, destroying them, killing them, and creating fear among them. And how the round works is what is good about this is the main player board or players boards, and all of the actions that what you're going to do, the steps are listed right here. And how the game is going to work is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grow, meaning you're going to take your personal spirit that you're playing as and do one of the grow actions, which is going to get you more cards, put out more presence on the board, because at the start of the game, these are all going to be filled out with these little tokens. And throughout the game, you're going to be placing these tokens out on the map of the board, spreading your influence around the map. And the more tokens that you put down, the more things you unlock, the more energy you get to use to spend cards. On the bottom row, it shows how many cards you can play. So you're all playing as a spirit, which is very asymmetrical, and I'll get into that later. And so you're going to do one of the grow options, and then you are going to gain energy. Then you're going to be playing out cards, and the cards cost a certain amount of energy. And like I said, you can play a certain amount of cards depending on what you've unlocked on your own personal player board. And the different things you're going to be doing with those cards are you are going to be creating more fear. You're going to be killing, destroying towns, cities, explorers, moving around different things, controlling different things, manipulating the board. There are also Dahan on the board, which are these little wooden mushroom things, and they're basically the natives of the land. You can push them back, push them around, and they'll help you fight off the bad guys, the colonists, as the game goes forward. So you're going to be paying for these cards, playing them, and then you're going to activate any of the fast cards. Some of the cards are fast powers, some of them are slow powers. So you're going to activate all the fast cards and do whatever those actions are. And then it gets into the invaders' turn, and they are going to build out and ravage the island. And they're going to slowly do that, and you can tell which spots they're ravage and build throughout the game. First, they're going to ravage, and whatever card is here, that's where they're going to ravage the certain lands. It might be the sands or the wetlands or the jungles, whatever card is in this slot. Then they're going to build out, and wherever they have explorers and towns and stuff, they're going to build more. If they have towns, they're going to build cities. If they have just a city, they're going to build a town. After that, they're going to explore. You're going to flip over that card, and wherever that location is, the little individual people are going to be moving around the board, just making the board a little bit more inhabited, a little bit more crowded. And after you've done that, then your slow powers are going to activate. So you really have to plan how things are going to work. And you're going to do the fast powers, then the invader is going to take the turn, then the slow powers are going to activate. So you have to really think about the order of operations in this game. After you do that, the round starts all over again. You collect more energy, you do the growth option again, and you play out cards. And you're going to win by creating so much fear. At the start of the game, you have to destroy everything that's out on the board to win. So it's basically impossible to win right away. Then if you generate so much fear, you're going to get into like the second phase, the terror second phase, which if you have all of the towns and cities destroyed, then you win. If you generate so much more fear, if you get into the third phase, if you destroy all of the big cities that are on the island, then you're going to win. And if you generate even more fear, you're going to finally reach the bottom of the board. You automatically win then if you reach that spot. The ways that you can lose is there is blight in this, and you can think of blight as basically the viruses in pandemic. If the invaders ravage a land and you didn't properly defend that spot, they are going to kill the Dahan there. They're going to attack the land by building new things, and you're going to get blight there. If you have to put blight down on a spot that already has blight, then it puts blight down there and expands, sort of pandemic-ish. And so it just gets worse and worse and worse as the game goes on. You can lose if you run out of blight, or if you go through the entire invader's deck goes through all the way through, then you lose that way. And so that's a very, very quick overview of what this game is. And I skipped out a lot of spots, a lot of specifics in this game. But if you really wanted to teach this game, it's going to take 30 to 40 minutes for sure. This is a pretty big, complex game. Okay, let's get into a few points that I want to talk about for this game. First, the theme and the aesthetics of this game. The theme, I absolutely love the theme. It's really interesting. It's really unique. I mean, you are the island. You are fighting back against the colonization. And that's really interesting because it's really unique. And I really like that. A lot of people have called this game Catan Fights Back, which I thought that was pretty clever. I like that. And yeah, it's the anti-theme, the theme that I never see in games. You always see the opposite way. So this is a really cool way of flipping that on its head. So, unique theme, absolutely good. As far as the aesthetics, looks pretty good. One thing that I really noticed in this game, and I'm not sure if they did this on purpose or not, I'm assuming they did, but all of the spirit stuff is wooden components. Your tokens that you're placing out are wooden. The Dahan huts that are around the board, they're just little wooden mushroom caps basically that are moving around the board. Very natural looking. And then you have the invaders are all big chunky white plastic pieces, which seems fitting for the theme. Big plastic pieces versus the natural wooden components. I like that a lot about it. I think the look is really, really good, and it's a really good stark contrast from the invaders to the spirits and the Duhan. So yeah, I really liked that part of it. As far as complexity for this game, this is a really complex game, I would say. I would put it right up there, actually, for cooperative games with Gloomhaven. It doesn't have the setup time of Gloomhaven, but I think there's so many little things that are going on in this game that it is really complex. From the actual rule set to how the minutia of the game is going to work. You almost need, if you're going to play this game, I really highly recommend playing this with someone who knows how things are happening, how they know how they're going to be attacking, how they know how the invaders are going to build out, how the explorers move around the board. You're going to need almost like a game master. I wouldn't recommend starting this game by yourself. It's really good if you have another person playing with you so that they can kind of see what's going on. But there's so much going on that you have to think about, and you see what's going to happen in this round, then you know what's going to happen in the future. So you have to prepare for this round and maybe stop things from happening the next round. And you have your own player boards, your own player decks for each of the individual characters. All the characters play very differently, so there's a lot of different things going on that makes the game more and more complex. The good thing about that is this game has some introductory modes, and they have the scenarios that you can play as. They have the adversaries you can play against, but you don't have to play with any of the extra stuff. You can play the start intro mission, which is a good way to start this off, and then you can add things and get more complex, add different blight island cards to make the game more complex as you go. So it does a good job of introducing you to the game, making the game a little bit simpler to what the big board game is. As far as the length of this game, I would say this game will take multiplayer anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on player count, depending on the people you're playing with, whether they've played the game or not. If they haven't played the game and they're just confused, they're like, I don't know what I should be doing, and so that extends the game out a little bit. The good thing is that the game is pretty simultaneous. Everybody's taking their turns simultaneously. So if you get a group that's played it a lot, you can whip through this game pretty fast. And solo, you can whip through this game really fast as a solo game. And the length to set the game up is pretty fast. For as complex of a game this is, it's pretty easy setup time. I would say it's similar to something like Pandemic. I've said Pandemic a couple times in this video. But yeah, the length, maybe 3 to 5 minutes to set this game up, especially if you know what you're doing to set the game up. As far as the gameplay itself, I think the gameplay works really well. It's really smooth. I like the player board shows you exactly what step you do. So you just go from step to step to step to step to step. And it helps move the game along good. It's a smooth game once you know the rules. It's like, well, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So I think the gameplay itself is really interesting. All the different characters, I think, are pretty well balanced. There's some low complexity spirits that you play as and some high complexity, stuff like that. And so, yeah, the gameplay itself is a really solid thing, and I think it works really well. As far as the variability from this, when I was going to review this game, I was going to buy this base game, and I was going to buy all of the expansions right away and play through everything. You don't need to do that. Just this base game, just the original box, has so much content, has so much variability in it from game to game. You are going to have several dozen games that you can play in this and have a lot of variabilities from the different spirits that you can play as. It starts with 8 of them, and these differ very much from spirit to spirit. They're very different. A lot of them specialize in certain things. One's really offensive oriented, where another one's all about defense. Another one's all about manipulating things in the island, controlling things. And they're just mishmashes of them and have different cards. They start with a different deck, each of them, and then you're going to build out a deck each time. So that's going to make the game have some variability. There are different adversaries you can play as to make the game a little bit different, make it more harder. By the way, this game is hard just in the base game, I think. It's hard enough right away, but you can add some things if you played it a bunch. Then there's a bunch of different scenarios that you can play as and just add whatever you want from game to game. And so there's so much variability from the spirits you play as, and you can play different spirits with other spirits, and that will change the game, how things work out. And so just in this base game, this has a ton of variety, and you're gonna be able to come back to this base game a lot before you run out of things that you want to do with this base game. Now, get into a little bit sort of final thoughts a little bit and ratings. I'm going to do a multiplayer and a solitaire rating for this game because I have 2 different ratings for them. As far as the multiplayer game, I'm going to rate this game a 7.5 for multiplayer. I think it's a really solid game, multiplayer. It can run a little bit long, and there's some good and bad things about this game, how complex it is. The bad thing is, like, it's so complex, I don't want to bring this to my regular game night, my regular game group, unless we set up a night where, like, hey, you want to play Spirit Island? And I want to play this with people who've played Spirit Island before. I don't really want to teach this game very much to people, because we're not going to do very well if you're a newbie with this game. I mean, I will teach you, of course, but I don't want to continually teach this. Like, I'm not going to bring it every single week to teach a new group of people. I want to teach someone and play this game with them a bunch, because this game definitely rewards playing this game more and more. It reveals more of its structure to you. How you want to play this game is just revealed the more you play this game. And so, yeah, 7.5 rating. Because this game is simultaneous and it's pretty complex, it's really hard to cooperate fully in this game, which is a good and bad thing. The bad part of it is that, you know, you're just taking your actions. You're taking your actions. We're trying to take care of our side of the island, making sure our side of the island is good, maybe helping out each other a little bit here and there, but we're not fully talking a lot of times of how our round is going to go because we're doing this simultaneously. That's good and bad. The good part is it's basically impossible to quarterback this. There's not an individual person being like, hey, play that card this turn, use that special ability, and do this. And you do that over there and do this and this and this. There's none of that in this game. It's just there's too much going on that an individual person basically can't quarterback that, which is nice. But you do lose some of that cooperation that I feel like in this game, unless you really slow down the game and everybody talks about their entire thing, what they're going to do, how we can work together. It's going to slow the game down. So you can cooperate, but a lot of times I found we're just doing our own thing, hoping everybody takes care of their stuff. So it's 7.5 for multiplayer. As far as the solo game, this game to me is a good game, is a great game solo. This is going to get a 9 rating solo. I think the best way to play this game is probably two-handed solo. You know, you're playing 2 different spirits and you're just working with yourself with 2 different spirits on the board, working with that other spirit, you know, using their powers. You know, you lack a little bit of defense, but I have a lot of offense, so you're going to help me on the defense and they're going to help them with the offense. And so you can really work with yourself in this game as a two-handed solo game. I'll play that, but probably the way that I'm going to play it the most, which I don't think is the best way, like I said, probably two-handed solo is probably the best, but that's going to take a little bit longer. I think solo single spirit is the way that I'm going to play this the most often. I had a stopwatch going when I played this solo, just single-handed, and it took me like 45 minutes. And I think if I really played this game, I could bring that down to close to half an hour. I've played this game a lot now. I've played this game probably 15 times now in the last couple weeks, just to try and play all the different spirits, play a little bit of the scenarios, play some of the adversaries. I just wanted to get a large grouping of what this game is. And I think it's just a better solo game for sure. I don't have to teach anybody. I can just get right into it. I can set it up fast. I can play it fast. And boom. In and out. A great solo game. There's so much variability in this game. 9 rating. So yeah, I obviously love this game. The more you play this game, the more rewarding it is for players. So if you play this game once or twice and you're like, meh, like I was when I initially played this game, the more you play it, the more this is going to unlock for yourself. Your strategies are going to evolve, and you're going to see the intricacies of this game, the interweavings. It's one of those games that really rewards you the more you play it. And I'm planning on playing this a lot more. I'm planning on getting a bunch of the expansions, playing with the different spirits. I'm really interested in that. So yeah, that's the review for Spirit Island. I will say there is a Steam version out of this on the computer that I've played a couple times on that as well. And I think it's a really solid implementation of the game. I don't think it's as good. It doesn't replace the physical game at all for me. I really like the physical game more than the digital, but it's a way that I can play the game without breaking out the game. So yeah, I think the Steam version is a really good way to play the game as well. But yeah, that will conclude this review. Make sure to comment below your thoughts on this game. What are your favorite spirits in this game? I'm probably going to be deep diving into this game now because I like it so much. After I get all the expansions, I'll probably make a ranking of my favorite spirits after a few, probably several months actually, because there's so much in this game out. But yeah, either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.